What's going on, guys? Back to Tactical Foul. Today we are starting a new series, our top 10 lists. Today we have our goalkeepers. So what we did is everybody here and then a few other lads, we had them do their own top 10s. Some were better than others. We're all looking at you, Lawrence. No, to be fair, Chan's was the worst, 100%. But then we took the averages of all those lists, and that's where we came up with the top 10. Today we're going to unveil them, talk about it, probably argue a little bit. But before we start that, from my left, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. That way you know who's here.
What's going on, guys? Michael Lamb, former Saginaw Valley assistant coach, and hung my boots up a while ago.
Nice.
I'm Lawrence Patterson. I'm the Saginaw Valley men's and women's assistant as well. I work with the goalkeepers and also coach some of the youth stuff at Nationals.
Louis Barrow here, head men's soccer coach at SVSU.
Marty Maven, assistant coach of SVSU men's soccer.
And always, Kyle Grew here, hosting this whole thing, hopefully keeping some kind of order. So, yeah, goalies. I think the top 5 are pretty easy for a lot of us.
Should we preface this by saying it is the worst position?
Yeah, nobody wants to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a special position.
It takes a special person that is right on the edge of lunacy, without a doubt. But yeah, I also don't know that there's a massive crop of like top goalkeepers. I think there's a lot of good goalkeepers in the league right now, but the top 5, I think the top 5 were fairly easy for the most part because most people had relatively the same top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very high pressure situation, by the way, being a goalkeeper.
yes.
Yeah, like you make one mistake and you're done.
Yeah, it's the biggest like risk reward type thing.
Oh,
position, right?
it's an awful spot to be in because like everyone else on the field can make mistakes, and you know it just happens. Everyone's gonna make a mistake every game. Goalie makes one mistake, it's a goal most likely.
Goal,
Yeah,
It's also a position where you have to be like really well rounded. You know, like you've got to be athletic, you've got to be able to make the saves, but then they expect goalkeepers in this game, like the modern game, to play with their feet as well.
yeah.
And so what you see is like you end up with goalkeepers who are either really good at one thing or really good at another thing. Like either they're excellent shot stoppers or they're like really good sort of like
Right.
outfield players, sweeper keepers. It's rare that you see like the complete goalkeeper. I think even with what we were just talking about before the start, when it was like Fabian Barthez and stuff, right? It's like easy to pinpoint like what his strengths are, and also exposing his weaknesses.
Right.
Because I don't see any complete goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think it's really unfair for the most part. I think because I think when you look at like centre mids, it's really easy. But like, oh, David Silva, like lacks size or strength or something athletically. But then as soon as you have that for a goalkeeper, it's like a massive negative. You know, like, oh, he's not big, so he's not going to come collect crosses and stuff. Like, yeah, well, you can't have everything. You know, just like so some of the best players in the world don't have everything, but they're very good at what they do. So yeah, I think it's really. I think it is. I think keepers are more harshly evaluated, and probably the least rewarding position to play unless you win penalty shootouts, things like that.
Yeah, I think, but to be fair though, I think coming down to how your team plays can help affect the team a lot. It's pointless having an Edison who wants to distribute the whole time playing in the team that doesn't really play.
Right.
Because there's someone better, maybe
He'd be
a better
wasted.
shot stopper
Yeah,
or
he'd be wasted.
a better come for crosses. Yeah.
Someone like Newcastle who receives a lot of shots on goal and need a good shot stopper.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Sure. So we ready to start this off with the top 10?
Right.
Any guesses?
Ederson.
Well, I'm gonna go from 10. We're gonna go 10 to 1.
10, I'm gonna say.
You're gonna be devastated. You're gonna be.
I know.
Dubravka.
It is Dubravka, and I was a little surprised with how many people Louis has convinced to put them on his list. I think you'll be happy. You might be happy. There's only 2 people I think that didn't vote for Dubravka.
If I'm not mistaken, he actually had the best save percentage in the Premier League this year.
You probably did.
And that was
I know he did.
Big Z.
that was a lot of stuff that we talked about because Lou's obviously a Newcastle fan, so we've been watching more Newcastle games. And honestly, beforehand last season he wouldn't be in my top 10, but because I've been watching him more now, he's a quality keeper. He doesn't have the best backline in front of him, but he gets himself in a lot of high pressure situations.
So
and
that's the thing.
he
is,
handles
like,
it quite well.
That you just said before, like a team like Newcastle gives away a lot of shots, right? I mean, they to have a good shot stopper.
Probably.
So I don't know about like Dubravka with his feet. All right.
Yeah, but I mean, like Lammy says, because Newcastle don't play out the back very much,
Yeah,
he doesn't have to.
True.
I know Dubravka had the highest save percentage in the Premier League, and Kepa actually had the lowest save percentage in Europe.
This is true.
Was Kepa on anybody's list?
Kepa was on my list. I've got one reason. That's it.
To be fair though, if you're looking at Dubravka, mate, you're probably being relegated last year if you didn't have Dubravka.
For sure, but he just won Newcastle United's player of the season.
yeah,
So
like he's massive.
Yeah.
And he's not old either.
no, I don't think so. He's Slovenian, right? I think he's 24, 25.
Yeah, he's
mid-twenties.
he's quite young, so
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be he'll be a good player.
He was a good player for
I'll
us.
be honest, I left him off my list,
Probably
but
because you didn't watch him that much, right?
I didn't watch him that
Yeah.
much.
In the tomb, we're always getting beat.
Yeah,
And-
Conceding goals.
Yeah, that is fair.
In a very stat-driven America.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, I think where he would have been if he would have been on my list, it was just very competitive. It's kind of like what we're talking about, where the top goalkeepers are top tier, and then it's kind of a lot of guys that are all relatively around themselves. However, with that kind of stat line, I think he deserves to be on the list. All right. Number 9, Leno, who is another guy who, honestly, by stats-wise, should actually be higher on this list because of his save percentages and just different things he does. But yeah, I think most people either left him off. A lot of people left him off the list, or had him low. There was a few guys that might have actually kept him in the list just because they had him a little bit higher. I know Cam, I think, had him 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, he's in that top saves of the season video. When he's honestly he's in like 4 or 5 of them.
It's like
I couldn't
every other
name
clip.
it like specifically, but it's like every other clip. Yeah, Leno's the one making the saves.
I think a big thing for me, like when you're watching Premier League football, especially for goalkeepers, is that if there's a goalkeeper on the pitch that you're not super familiar with, for me, like Leno, I don't think you technically remember that much of the goalkeeper if they just have a standard good game.
Right.
I think you remember keepers making mistakes more than anything.
Yeah.
And I don't remember ever saying to myself like, oh, Leno dropped Arsenal in it today. You know what I mean? Or I don't really remember him costing them points per se. Whereas some keepers in my head, I remember this season especially, they did.
I do think I just think about watching Arsenal. I feel like they concede a lot of soft goals, and whether that's down to your keeper or whether it's a collective effort, obviously. But I just remember soft goal after soft goal after soft goal, and a bit controversial. I think Martinez did better than Leno when he was starting. Just in my mind, I mean.
Yeah, I think some of that probably comes down to form of the actual team, because you got to think Leno got hurt, and then Arteta, and like right at the beginning of Arteta's run, and then Arsenal started to play better. So it could be Martinez played better. It could be the team was just excelling a little bit more with Arteta at the helm. So it's a tough one.
He was a keeper that obviously you've heard of before Arsenal signed him, but because Arsenal were going through that transitional period and they weren't playing the best football, I just didn't watch him enough this year until after the break, and I thought Martinez was brilliant. He wasn't on the list. Sure wasn't?
No, I based
Try to do one keeper per team.
one keeper for team, and that's why like Cameron was mad because Willie wasn't on the list. He's like, well, he's definitely our better goalkeeper for Chelsea, Caballero. But I had to put.
How you feeling about that one?
I feel fine. I think. Look, should we get this out of the way?
Go ahead.
Like, Kepa is shit
Fair.
across the board,
Okay.
right? But he reminds me of like 2012 or maybe before. Yeah, about 2012. Sort of Robin van Persie's first year or the year at Man United.
13,
David De Gea, 13. Right? The early David De Gea, who was shocking, absolutely awful, did not belong at Man United. And then 3 years later, he's tripled in value or whatever, and he's the best goalkeeper in all of Europe. So we talk about like lowest save percentage. Like he reminds me, it's like spitting image of that David De Gea.
Right,
I think.
Why is he in your list then? That's what we're.
Yeah, the Premier League at the minute.
Well, I'm saying like as an asset, I would rather have Kepa over some keepers than that, just because of that. And here's the other thing too: is they spent 71 million on him, right? Which is awful, awful, right? 71 million, but like. He's at the club. You've got to keep investing in him. What are you going to get out of that? What are you going to keep? What are you going to return? Like, what are you going to sell him for? I think he's absolutely shocking, but he reminds me exactly of that David De Gea, and that's the only reason I would put him anywhere near there.
So
But they bought him as like they paid 80 million.
Yeah, and you expect him to come in and be the goalkeeper. You know what I think will help him is the same thing what they did to David De Gea when they have a few goalkeepers who were there. Well, yeah, get him in the gym, but like you have a few goalkeepers. They're talking about like, well, who's going to be the goalkeeper? I mean, David De Gea after his first season, like, and the mistakes he made, they were like, fucking hell, get him off the pitch. So and maybe he needs Caballero to come in and challenge for the spot. Maybe they need to sign Jan Oblak.
Look, I think. Sorry, mate.
Go for it.
Look, he's a young goalkeeper at a top club, so there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's got fantastic goalkeeper potential.
Right.
Like, I don't think you get signed as a young Spanish goalkeeper to Chelsea. I think it'd be very difficult to get a goalkeeper wrong for that much money. I think if you spend 80 million on someone, it's because you've seen him do fantastic things, and so I think you're right. I think he could turn into a fantastic goalkeeper, but I just don't know if I would risk it. You know, like it's hard for me. It's hard to say like, well, De Gea had done it, so Kepa should be able to. You know, like both at different clubs in different environments with different players, different coaches. There's a lot of mitigating factors, I think, that changes their situation respectively.
Mate, if you look at the money that Chelsea is spending this year, they're serious about pushing for a title, and that I don't think having Caballero or Kepa in net is going to win you a title. I don't think it is.
Which is why Lampard's trying to get a goalkeeper.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, if they sign up Jan Oblak, I mean, puts them right in the mix.
I mean, when you talk about save percentages, that's a top. I mean, I think 2 out of the 3 years that guy's the top save percentage in the world. Yeah. So it's like, just to go back on the De Gea thing, I think the difference that we have to draw is you're right in that he was not great and people were like, why do we have this guy? His main issue was never what Kepa's is, which is like he just seems to not save anything if it's not at him. You're not seeing a lot of like saves. De Gea was making saves. It's just that in the Premier League he got bullied in the box, which is still not his strongest suit.
I thought he was brutal. I thought he
wasn't
so
good, and
many
he
mistakes.
made mistakes. He had mental lapses, no doubt about it. But if you look, most of those things were aerial things where he had to jump and go get it because the guy was terrified of these big, Premier League strikers. That's what it was, and obviously he gained confidence. And of course, it could happen with Kepa, but the problem is Kepa's having these issues with nobody around him.
Yeah.
Where he just if it's away from him, he's not saving
Doesn't
it.
even dive half the time.
It's wild. I really don't know, but I do think the
Put a
price,
plank of wood in there.
yeah. I think the price tag.
Put a mannequin in there.
I think the price tag is based off of his age. Yeah,
age,
pretty much.
yeah, he's still
It's
young.
the
He's
age-
not what? He's 25.
I don't think
He's young
I
still
think
in
he's
the-
24.
His prime's longer than anyone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
My
That's
thing.
to his advantage.
My thing that I remember is
That's
that
that's a
Yeah,
point
but-
for me.
Top 10 though.
Yeah. Should we get back to the
Yeah.
the current top?
Yeah,
Can I say one more thing
Go
about
for
De
it.
Gea?
No.
Is that I think that the difference, De Gea being a young goalkeeper in the Premier League, I can remember him winning games for United.
Yeah.
Can you remember that save that when Suarez had a volley at him from 7 or 8 yards out? Oh, it was unbelievable. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember Kepa winning. Not that he should be by now. I
He's the
think.
gaffer though.
Yeah, he calls the shots. You're
He
absolutely
does, yeah. Next guy on the list.
Right. Just number 8.
Yep. Number 8, Rui Patricio.
I think he should be higher than that.
It feels like he should be higher.
Yeah, fuck yeah, he should be.
Controversy in the podcast.
He should be.
No, yeah, I'm with you, mate.
I think he's been well before he was in the Premier League. He's just been a very good goalie for Portugal. Has come to Wolves. They've had a lot of success, and now a lot of that comes down to the manager. They have the right pieces, but I just think they have a very solid rocket in the goal. That he's one of these guys where you talk about I don't know that I've ever seen that guy actually make a mistake.
He wins Wolves games.
I think.
Is that?
I,
Sure.
yeah. So it is tough. I think you could definitely.
Be interesting. I'm interested to see who's above him.
And that's the hard thing, right? Is you're like he should be higher, and then and then we'll probably get there, and you're like, all right, maybe not.
Well, that's what we said. The first, especially with all this, the first few are the easiest, and then the rest can be.
Yeah, because
all
I'm
over the
sure.
place.
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm sure a lot of people didn't watch Wolves that much. Who else was on the list, mate? Was it Cam and Colin?
Cam, Colin, yeah.
Now, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but because Wolves are a pretty new team in the Premier League, especially recently, a lot of people probably didn't watch him that much. Like in this country, they're probably waiting for the Chelseas, the Uniteds, the Cities, the Liverpool games. So you probably didn't get to watch.
Wolves are a class team to
Wolves
watch.
are brilliant, mate. Wolves are brilliant.
We love watching Wolves.
I think you get
Dama Traore.
Jimenez, all brilliant.
I love Jimenez as
do
well. The true number 9 Jimenez.
Yeah, for sure. I do think Wolves are in a different. Even though they are new, obviously having European football allowed people to see them a little bit more, for sure. So it is. I think looking at this list right now, he could probably move with some people, but unfortunately I think it's probably right. A little harsh, but probably a little bit right. I think he's a good goalie. I don't think he's ever been a guy that you ever are putting like top like in these top tiers. He's just been a super consistent, solid goalkeeper that he can win some matches, but for the most part, he's just not going to lose matches.
I mean, I think he would bar. I mean, he's ahead of Leno, so you would walk in Arsenal's team.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how many of the top.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is that like he's not going into those top European teams, the Bayerns, the Reals, the Cities, the Liverpools.
Yeah.
Which I would agree with.
And honestly, I don't know that Arsenal would trade Leno for him either, considering that I believe there is at least a 4-year, at least a 3 or 4 year age gap. So you're probably going to take Leno for that age because.
So does he belong at Wolves? Like, is that?
I think because I think he's very good. I think Wolves are very good. I think they're as good a team you're going to find in the Premier League. I think they're pretty similar to Leicester.
Yeah.
Like I think they're as good a team you're going to find in the Premier League that haven't got the potential to be elite.
Yeah.
You know.
Just by sheer investment.
Yeah, investment, and whatever else, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect spot for him.
I do think he's higher than 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think Wolves is a great team for him.
Fit, yeah.
Absolutely. So next guy, and he was just mentioned when we were talking about him, World Cup winner, Hugo Lloris, number 7.
7? Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm interested to see what that top 6 is, but he's another one that could be higher. Like, I mean, he's done a lot of things.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that gets knocked because you know that every game it feels like, and it's not true, but it feels like every game that guy's gonna have some kind of mistake, whether it leads to a goal or not. But it feels like, and now every game also he'll probably make a really good save that saves a goal. So you're like, you take the good with the bad, and I think that's kind of what France has done. It's like we have a good enough team where he has minimal opportunities to lose us this game, and we think he has the ability to make those saves, and hopefully he doesn't make one of those mistakes. I think he makes more mistakes in possession for the most part than he actually does with saving the ball.
I think fundamentally he's quite clean, isn't he?
Yeah. So you don't see many of those, but you do see a lot of just mistakes in possession, whether it's like rushing it and then he passes it to a guy in the opposing team in the middle of the field, and then they have a shot that either he has to make a save on or they get a goal off.
Yeah, I've seen him like do the mistake a few times where he's had to rush a clearance and like kind of like kicks it back into the middle of the field.
Yeah,
instead of just putting his foot through. I've seen him do that a couple of times.
Yeah. And I think that knocks him. I mean, his pedigree.
I think it knocks him
Should
because
be
you're putting him amongst players like Edison who fucking dominate with the ball.
Yes.
Like, but if Edison didn't come in and do that, then
if this was 10 years ago, Lloris would be higher on this list. Without a doubt.
Plus we take into account, where is he? 7th.
Yeah.
It's a fine line, probably between 7th and 3rd, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And he's obviously playing for top 4 or 5 team, playing for one of the best international teams in the world.
And
he's playing there for a reason.
That's the other thing is he does play for Tottenham. Like, that's a declining defense. He was hurt this year as well. I do wonder if he's at a bigger club. You got to think of, the starting goalie for the French national team probably could be at another club, potentially.
Who else is a keeper for France?
Exactly.
Mandanda?
Yeah, I mean, Mandanda was. Is it Areola, I believe, which is now the backup. I mean, he was the backup over in. Well, he was a starter for a little bit for PSG. I think he's the backup in Real now.
I think Spurs' defense will be better next year.
They should be.
They should be under Mourinho.
Doherty, probably Sanchez, Alderweireld, and Davies.
That Tanganga as well, still there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Would you not have Aurier?
No, they just bought Doherty, so I imagine they bought him.
I would play Doherty over Aurier.
I would.
That's
that is a yeah.
They're trying to get rid of.
If Mourinho's still there, they'll definitely play a back 4. If Mourinho's there, they'll definitely play a back 4.
He did play some back 3 for Man United. I think he'll play a back four. I think you're right.
I think Doherty suits a back four, especially I know he played in the back three at Wolves a lot of the time.
Does playing under Jose though not rein him in, because he kind of got a free roll in with Wolves to go forward and get on the end of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Does Jose keep it back? And
Probably. If we're going off past experience, probably.
Yeah, I think Lloris is right. Could he go somewhere else? Maybe. He would probably have a higher profile at another club, though. Is all I'm saying. Is Tottenham is like trying to be a big club, but like they don't ever do all the right things to be a big club,
and
to be the top
just
club.
They have $1 billion on a stadium.
Yeah,
that's the start.
Right, no, but that's the thing, though, right? Like they've spent $1 billion on a stadium, but they're still not getting to the level.
They spend that.
They're not spending Man City money.
It's not even about. They do spend some. They spend money, but they spend it aesthetically instead of like internally.
But I think this stadium is to have state-of-the-art stadium to attract more
of
players.
course,
like if you spend $1 billion in a stadium, you're not going to go and spend 200 million in the transfer market. So I feel like now that they've done that,
and bringing Jose in,
but I feel like that was the first part of their project: have state-of-the-art stadium,
hopefully,
and then they can build and build.
I mean, they just came second in the Prem, didn't they? 2 years ago, came second in the Prem.
Yeah, they're definitely a top
Champions League finalist. Yeah.
They're going in the right direction. Was that when they finished third in a 2-horse race? When
City
ended
come back.
Well, no, it was that was Leicester.
Oh, sorry.
And Arsenal. They were up with 4 games left. They were up by 10 points on Arsenal, and somehow they bottled it. Yeah. That's just what they do. Number 6. I have a feeling that some people are gonna have this one, might argue a little bit, but he did have a great season, and that's Pope.
No, I can't argue. I mean, I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But I put him above Lloris or Rui Patricio. But he does very well for what he does.
That's the fine lines, isn't it? He was consistent for an average.
Yeah, I'm sure if you looked at I don't know if you've got a clean sheet list, but I'm sure he'll be right up there.
I think he was tied for second.
Yeah.
That's something along those lines.
I know this means nothing, but I'm pretty sure he was top of the
fantasy.
Yeah, Premier League fantasy goalkeeper points.
I nearly had my Rui Patricio. But I was going to take him,
because he had kept a lot of clean sheets. He had a lot of games where he made more than 4 saves.
Exactly.
Yeah, he done a lot.
I mean, he's not playing for a top team, obviously,
right?
And he is a big reason for the minimum amount of success that they had. And I mean, he's right there, potentially either the backup or the starter, possibly for England. I'm sure he's going to be within that rotation of people they try.
The backup, and that's mental.
The backup. He's behind.
Yeah, because Pickford still has a chance.
I don't think the people who started today was the starters over there, because Trent didn't start today, did it?
Just with the goalkeepers, I'm sure we were all scoring our top 10 on different criteria. It could be the stature of the player, it could be how many saves he made, consistency.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a guy that, again, now he's 6, so he might not be higher, but he's a shot stopper. He's not like what, the Pep ideal goalie of playing with your feet, but it's he does enough. He doesn't need to play with his feet because he's in the right system for him, and he makes pretty much every save that he needs to, and then a few more that, he shouldn't make. So it's he's a top goalie, and honestly, I would say he's probably about right. He's somewhere in the middle of the top 10 goalies.
He's another one that I felt like whenever I did watch him, I just never felt like I seen him make mistakes.
Yeah.
Super consistent, super safe.
Yeah, I think
it's a funny one. If it's like being a holding midfield player. If you go through the game and no one really notices you've done anything wrong, you've had a good game.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Number 5, and I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that he made it this high after the last 2 seasons. But David De Gea. I know, obviously, this is a legacy pick, basically, because the last 2 years have been tough. Because what we're talking about with these mistakes, that's all you really see. And it started in the 2018 World Cup, because the year prior to the 2018 World Cup, he was possibly the best goalkeeper in the world.
Arguably, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think when you look at it, he, it's expected saves or whatever, or expected goals that were saves, and usually, it's like a single-digit thing, right? 6, 7, that's top tier goalie. This guy was in the teens in that year. Nobody does that. Yeah. Nobody saves their team the amount that he saved us. But it's been rough since. Ronaldo has absolutely crushed his spirits after the bottle job that he had against them, and it's not been great since.
Should be low just for being fucking Man United.
Yeah,
But
plus then, I mean, him and Lloris are quite comparable in that sense, where
Yeah.
they'll concede a
Word.
terrible one and then pull a worldie out of the
I
back.
still don't think Lloris has been in the headlines though for his amount of mistakes, fuck-ups, as what De Gea has.
Yeah.
I think De Gea dominates that.
Right.
This pick is honestly like proof that it's the most form-based position on the pitch, 100%. Like it shows that after a stream of bad games, you're dropped, or a stream like could be 2 games. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean for sure, and I agree to an extent. I think it also depends on the players that aren't playing. You know what I mean? I feel like City, because they've got 2 fantastic strikers. Not that they do this, but you could see like a coach saying like, "Oh, Guerrero, you didn't score 2 games. Jesus, you're on."
Yeah.
You know, it could just be in and out, in and out. If you didn't score, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're right, but in my opinion, coaching, if I can help it, I'd really like not to change the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You know,
But
You don't want to ruin
probably
his
the
confidence.
sense-
right? Exactly, mate. Yeah.
If you put him in and he's having a bit of a stinker, but you go, do I lose him for the full season?
Right, or you show
You
some
persevere,
faith, right?
yeah, and give him a bit of confidence.
I think what you were alluding to, mate, about how you probably haven't seen Lloris as much as De Gea in terms of making mistakes. I think it probably gets shown in the media and stuff that De Gea makes more mistakes than Lloris because he probably reached higher heights.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
for
know. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of them being similar
I
for
like
that reason.
winning the World Cup.
Highest. Yeah, that is tough. But yeah, I mean, I think it's right. I think because it's like we talked about, it's kind of like the curse of being at Tottenham where you're not in the headlines as much, but also when he is making those mistakes, it's a blessing because like you're always going to look at those Man United highlights no matter what because
I stopped watching them for a while.
yeah, that's fair. No, I don't blame you, but they're going to get shown no matter what.
Mate, when I was in New Zealand, there was like a few weeks where I got up at 5 in the morning to watch it, and after 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, I'm never getting up again.
Yeah, you only watch big games because it's the only thing that that the team actually gets up for, so it might as well be the only thing you get up for.
This season will be interesting.
Yeah.
Henderson coming back and staking his claim of not wanting to sit on the bench.
He's got to be coming up soon.
Yeah, he has to be, right? I'm forecasting it.
Not yet though.
Yes.
Has a link to United though, because his dad was one of our best ever goalkeepers, but that is Schmeichel, Kasper Schmeichel at Leicester.
So where's he 4?
He's at number 4. I think.
He's a great goalkeeper. Yeah.
I think he's another guy that you don't hear mistakes.
What, buddy?
I think I had him 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I'm quite high.
I'm quite high.
Yeah.
He's consistent. You know what you're going to get with him. Like,
And honestly, I think I'm not saying he's better than 4th. I think that actually worked out well. But I think overall, you never really think of him as as in these categories of top goalkeepers and like a top 5. And honestly, it's probably the curse of his dad is so famous that you're like, he's good. He's not his dad though. It's one of those things where it's like you have this very famous father, and so you kind of get overshadowed a little bit. Even though he's had an unbelievable career for both Leicester and for his country.
I think, obviously, when Leicester won the league, right? Even when I still think back to it now, it was just an unbelievable feat.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. And can you imagine doing something like that and being the goalkeeper? Like, you've got to be like, everything's got to come together for you every single game.
Yeah.
And I don't think that happens unless you're like unbelievably dedicated, talented.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he was doing all the right things and got like all the luck that came with it. You know what I mean? I think again, he's probably not one of them keepers that I watch and I just think never really seen him make a mistake. Like I'm sure he has.
Yeah, of course.
But there's some keepers that you go, he's got a mistake in him.
Yeah.
Like I never think of that with Kasper Schmeichel. I'm just like, safe as houses. Comes and collects, decent distribution.
Yeah.
Looks like a leader on the pitch. He's always got really good body language. He's always like super passionate. I couldn't argue with number 4.
Yeah, to be fair, the only mistake I can think of is the last game of the season when Jesse took the ball off him, and that's literally the only thing. And this is because he's trying to find some kind of pass because they needed a goal to win the game. And it's like, besides that, I've never seen a mistake out of that guy.
I was going to say, because he's been really good every year, but going back to when Leicester won the league, that back 4 was not overly great, but I guarantee he played a massive role in terms of organising them and having them positioned in the right way. Like, obviously that's stuff that we don't really see.
Yes,
I would just
Wes Morgan,
Wes Morgan,
Danny
and
Simpson, Fuchs, and then who was the other? Robert Huth.
Yeah.
That guy should not be a champion.
Keepers probably don't get enough credit for their leadership skills.
Oh,
especially in the
absolutely.
It
big
never
team.
got past Cantia, so it didn't matter. They had anyone back there.
That is true. The next guy, who we did allude to, which means United do have at this point 2 goalkeepers on the list. Number 3 is Dean Henderson.
Fantastic.
He was
Goalkeeper. Brilliant.
He's been unreal at Sheffield. He has been their player. Like, to think how well they did this year. They won they came up from the championship by winning it last year, and he was their player of the year both years. That's how much they realize how good he is. And United just gave him a big contract for until 2025, I believe, and
120 grand.
120 grand. They know.
Soon to be England's number 1.
I imagine.
Very possibly.
What's mental is that he's only on 33% of the wages that De Gea's on, which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
150 grand.
350 grand a week is mental.
Mate, that's what Sanchez is on. Or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
He's on like 5.
That's insane.
He was on 5. No longer though. No longer. We had to buy. Hey, we didn't make any money on
He
Sanchez,
saved 18 million getting rid of him.
but we saved so much money by not having to pay him anymore.
I think I'm sure that most of you lads would agree after watching Sheffield United, apart from Liverpool and City on their day, probably my favourite team to watch.
Yeah,
And the
I actually
Prem,
started watching them.
Watched a
every
fantastic,
single week.
great brand
They're
of
fun,
football,
yeah.
great coach, great players, and like kind of like under the radar players we didn't really know about, who were fantastic as well. And it was always just like when the tide was swinging the other way, it was just always backed up with a fantastic goalkeeper as well.
Yeah.
He made great saves. He just looked confident, used confidence, like just played to their level. Was a great guy to have back there for them. Just suited the system so well.
I loved just Chris Wilder just coming out after a game. I mean, we got outworked. I mean, you cannot win a game
He's
if you're not
phenomenal.
doing the basics and the fundamentals. Nothing about how we play or anything. Just if you get outran on the field, you're not going to win a game. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Is it not Dean Henderson that he says it to? He's like, Dean, what the fuck are you doing?
That was I know that clip. That was
Is it not?
the other lad that was in there. When he's come over at off tap when they get the drinks break. What are you doing?
And I think and Dean has a little bit of pedigree because I believe when England won that the Youth World Cup, I'm pretty sure he was in goal.
That's got my man.
Freddie Woodman was Newcastle goalkeeper.
Was he?
There you go.
Okay. He was part of the
European Championships maybe.
something along those lines when they had some kind of success, and I believe it was in his age group, which he's in a pretty good bracket of age group because that's I think he's only 23.
Yeah, it's almost age. Yeah.
He's very young.
It's mental, isn't it? 2 unbelievable seasons at 23 Premier League.
That's the one worry is he's very young, and we're talking about this guy. He's going to be England's number 1, and potentially
Pickford's only 25, right?
Yeah, below you, isn't he? 26.
26, yeah.
26.
Shit.
So
Did you like him? You're right. Did you like him in the World Cup? Everyone liked him in the World Cup.
Man, he was brilliant.
yeah,
You didn't like him in 2018.
I mean, I can't remember really, to be honest. Like,
Mate, he was like a hero.
I
Everyone
thought
loved
he
him.
was great when he first came on the scene.
Yes.
England.
I think it
and
proves my
club.
point about form.
So
100%.
I
Happened
guess
to Joe Hart.
Yeah,
Happened
but
to
he's-
Jordan
but
Pickford.
He's been awful for
Happened to
a
David
season
De
now,
Gea.
though.
Who?
Pickford.
Right.
He's been awful for a
He
season
ain't
now.
got great in front of him though.
No, I know that.
Very-
but,
they haven't conceded very soft goals.
But loads of teams are in that position, right?
Yeah.
Joe Hart's another one. Never really rated Joe Hart.
No.
Honestly, just when I watched him, I just didn't ever think he was that good. Like when I watch Alisson now, I'm just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Joe Hart never really done that for me.
Yeah.
Pickford, when he came on scene, I was just like, oh my god, like not super big, but didn't matter because he came collected, was unbelievable distribution, looked like he wanted to be there like a leader, and I think you're right, mate, with the form thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can call a season form. People definitely have bad seasons and get unbelievable again.
Yeah.
Not saying that can't happen.
Right.
Just right now, I think this season he was really poor compared to what I thought he was going to be when I thought he was brilliant.
His trajectory.
And I think we talked about it too. Like with goalies, they have a screw loose, so it's like a whole year of being like poor. Like I imagine that messes with their psyche more than possibly another player who is a little bit more even keel.
Yeah.
I mean, who's Everton's second keeper? Exactly.
Beats
Like
me.
he's strolling into training every day. He's got no pressure of losing his sport.
Oh.
Kind of
You
comfortable.
might
with
need
what
it this
they're
year.
doing.
You might needed the
Might
struggle
give
a
him
little
kick
bit.
to the
Yeah.
arse and
I mean, yeah, the
England are still picking him though.
He's done great enough, ain't he? Done a
Yeah,
mistake
well,
for
that's
England.
true. Yeah.
It's hard to remove someone.
I understand
The
that
club
logic, but
form's
does
gotta
that
be-
ever happen though? Like when people play bad for a club, they still don't get picked for England. You know what I mean? Like James Maddison didn't get picked this season for England. He had an unbelievable season for Leicester.
Yeah.
You know, like I know he was good for England. You know, it's like the Jesus Firmino thing. Like Firmino is better in the Premier League. I'm not saying he is definitely. I think a lot of people would say he was. It's quite an even argument.
Plays a bigger role.
But Jesus starts every game for Brazil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, different coaches, different
Southgate might want,
exactly.
distribution wise,
Yeah,
he might want
for sure.
Pickford in there.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Back on Henderson though, the one question I do have is like, and I think a lot of people have this, is he is at Sheffield, where let's be real, the pressure isn't as high as it's going to be at United. I think he has the talent, but that challenge is going to be tough. You know, starting in goal for Sheffield, you know, in whatever their stadium is, and then starting at Old Trafford for Manchester United is a completely different animal, I would say. And so, and same thing for England though. Like you're asking him to go, he's in the Championship, then he's playing for Sheffield, who had zero pressure this year. No one expected them to do what they did.
No, but they have pressure on themselves.
Of course.
They don't go at that level of not have pressure on themselves.
Absolutely. But I think, you know, there are different pressures no matter where you go.
Yeah, United's got more pressure because it's Man United as well.
Yeah, and the media makes it even, like, it's just exasperating.
They've been rebuilding for about 15 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
How long have Sunderland been rebuilding?
That's still
Is
long
that what
ago,
it's
mate.
called? Could you call that
We've
rebuilding?
long past rebuild, mate.
Are they paying their players now?
Self-destruct.
So
No,
it'll be interesting. I think he's talented enough. I think he just, you listen to him, you watch him. He looks like he's just bred to be at a top club.
he's hungry.
Yeah.
They're all elite professionals.
Oh, of
and
course.
His statement that he came out with the other day, we were briefly talking about it. I can't remember it obviously word for word, but he was pretty much saying that he's coming back to United not to sit on the bench. He's progressed the past few years because of game time, and he wants to continue that.
Yeah.
And he said about how much respect he has for De Gea, but he's 100% coming for the number one spot.
Yeah, and I
think that says a lot about him as a player and a character.
And I love the fact that, like, and he said this like a few years ago, like when he was in the academy, he said, and he's kind of reiterated it last year, but he's like, I will be the starting goalkeeper for Manchester United when I'm 23 years old.
Yeah,
and
was it
he's,
Shrewsbury?
yeah, and he's 23 years old, and there's a good chance that he's gonna take that spot, especially if it's like we said, form for goalies. Like, this isn't a normal situation for De Gea. Like, if he makes a mistake, it's not like he has, you know, a backup behind him. He has a number one goalie behind him, so he could easily be the number one guy. All right. Now on to the 1 and 2. It's not very hard to figure out who they are. But number 2, as voted by everybody, I think it was pretty split. I think we had, with yours, we had 8 people. I believe it was 5 and 3 though still that voted Alisson number 2. Obviously champion with Liverpool. He's an unbelievable goalkeeper. He is. And it's very tough because the guy ahead of him is also an unbelievable goalkeeper.
Currently Brazil's number 1 though, with the past 2 games.
So is
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Just doesn't mean anything.
No,
it's
I mean,
just
it
it's
doesn't,
a preference thing,
Yeah.
right?
I see it going both ways.
Yeah,
Could go either.
you
It
literally
could.
go
I
either
think
way.
I think you're splitting hairs with these two.
Yeah.
Like
if Edison was number 2 right now and Alisson's 1, I'd have no argument.
yeah.
I wouldn't have much of an argument. I personally just think that Ederson. I think that they are about the same as far as like their goalkeeping ability. I just think Ederson is better with his feet, so that's why I voted him number 1. I think he just has a slight edge in that category, and in something that is so tight, whatever little edge you get probably is gonna. For me, he's going to propel you to number 1.
Yeah, I think they're both elite when it comes to technical ability. Like even
Yeah,
though,
of course.
Yeah, even though Alisson doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing sometimes as Edison.
I mean, Edison's a lefty. Everything he does.
Yeah,
looks
but I mean, like
aesthetic.
even when he strikes the ball, like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It makes you go, oh my god! Like, and Alisson doesn't do that all of the time.
The video of him in the warm up is
Right, yeah, like and just what he does in games and stuff. Like when he strikes the ball, it makes you go, wow, like and Alisson is fantastic as well technically. like ball at his feet, so comfortable, really like. So I think you're right, mate. Like Edison, in my opinion, is a tiny bit ahead of him in terms of the technical ability. So you will step him ahead. However, I think I've seen Edison make one pretty bad mistake.
Yeah.
He did one.
Like when he should have got it down here.
Oh, it was the last, not the last game. The one they had a stinker when they got beat off.
Yeah, was
clearance.
it not Spurs?
It might have been.
Might have been
Where he
Spurs.
fumbled the shot and he threw it in the net.
Aye. And
parried it.
But I do think when it comes to actual goalkeeping, I think they're both brilliant. I've seen Edison make great saves, and he looks like a beast sometimes. I just feel like like Alisson, I think like in the moments when you really need him to come make a save, he just comes out and he looks absolutely massive, and he just like wants to come and gobble everything up. And I'm just like, oh yeah, like guys are freaks.
Both very interesting in terms of they've both been brought in and changed their team's dynamic and turned them into winners. I mean, when Willie Caballero was in goal, Man City weren't really winning anything. It wasn't Pep's preference for how to play. Edison's come in.
Why do you hate Willie Caballero?
I don't hate him at all.
Time you brought
I don't. And then Alisson's come in alongside Van Dijk and changed Liverpool into a title-winning team.
To be fair, they just need someone that wouldn't give the ball to the other team like Karius did. I don't know.
Here's the shit thing about that, right? It's like, watch the Champions League final and it's two absolute howlers, right? 100%. But you watch the whole game, he doesn't play poorly.
No, he didn't.
And it's two absolute howlers. It's like mental lapses for 3 seconds each. And all of a sudden, you lose it. Yeah, you lose Champions League final. He gets sold. He writes an apology to fans and all that shit. Like
you could have saved those. I can't remember. I remember the Bale one.
Threw it off Benzema.
Yeah, the one who gave it to
the Bale
Benzema.
one when he cut runs like right here, like if he headed it. Right, like if he headed it right, everybody would have said, "What the fuck is that guy doing?" But it wouldn't have went in.
It wouldn't have.
Which is mental to think about. Like he literally like made it more difficult for himself trying to save it.
They are the worst howlers, like those, and at the absolute worst time.
Biggest game.
Like the only bigger game is the World Cup final.
The Benzema one.
The Benzema one's hilarious, man.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing
Or is
there.
that just really smart from Benzema?
Both, really, yeah. Like just being switched on, isn't it?
But my point was, you could have 89 minutes and 55 seconds of like being completely class, and then you give away those two, and it's like your career's over. You know what I mean?
Aguero could have a wank game for 89 minutes and score in the 92nd minute and win 1-0, and he's a hero. Like, it's such a difference of position and pressure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the greatest example is, and not necessarily when he first came in, but like for us, like after the break, Bruno Fernandes, I don't think he played particularly well. Guess what? Kept shitting goals and assists, so who cares?
He played particularly well?
No.
In what game?
In most games, I think that
There's a couple of games where he didn't
I don't think that he.
Mate, you don't have that much of an influence if you don't play particularly well.
I thought he was brilliant when he came in. I mean,
when he first came in, he was brilliant. Like it was the goals and assists, but it was also the way that he strung passes along, the way he connected the midfield to the forwards,
affected the game.
You know, all those things. But I think that his impact on the game as a whole dwindled a lot. And maybe it's just because you had other players like Pogba that could do it, but I think his impact on the game was not that great. But I don't care, because guess what? He has 12 goals and 8 assists, so who gives a shit?
Plus, like a lot of them players were burnt out especially coming up to the Europa League semi-final. They played game after game with a hectic schedule after the break.
And I think after how good he was playing, like other coaches have got to start coaching around.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? They have to coach around that because he was just so good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a complete double standard. Unfortunately, goalies pick to choose to be in the goal where you're going to have a double standard. You can't make mistakes. Sorry, you got to be perfect. Yeah, and number 1 is Ederson. I don't know that there is a more psychopathic human being in the Premier League, because that guy is a maniac, and I think he's probably killed somebody, or at least helped cover up a murder.
Did you boys see the
clip
he was they were doing a shooting drill for Brazil recently, and Richarlison and somebody else were behind the goal like shouting at him, and he like turned around and was like, "Shut your fucking mouth." Apparently he like got the guy, I can't remember who was with Richarlison, but one of the coaches was like, "Yeah, when he gets a hold of him, he's going to kill him too."
So I'm saying
it's pretty funny, but he made a good save, and Richarlison says something, and he's like, "Shut your mouth, man, or shut the fuck up, man." And he's like, "I'm cheering for you, sucker," or something like that.
Yeah.
And just a little back and
He's insane. But that City team, he was part of those. I mean, he's part of those teams that the back-to-back titles. At least one of them. I can't remember exactly what year he came in, but I think he was part of both of them. And yeah, he did what Allison did as well. He changed the dynamic of that team, and I think, I do not think that City would take any other goalkeeper over him. There may be goalkeepers that are better in the world, but that guy is.
It's their style.
He is like, I imagine when Pep was like, "Oh, we're gonna get this guy," he was wet in the pants because that guy is his dream, right? He's Valdez on steroids. Am I wrong though?
No, brilliant.
And
play centre midfield and still do well.
The way he strikes a ball, man. I mean, it just
The stab.
not even that. Mate. Just everything he does
He's
like, with the ball,
clean.
like just looks so elegant on the ball. It's just a joke. Like the way he strikes a ball, like I've never seen him miss hit a ball. Sometimes he doesn't get it to the man, but I've never seen him like not hit a ball flush. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel the same way about Pickford. I feel
Piggy's similar. Yeah,
really well. Yeah.
He could kick a ball 150 yards.
Yeah, he could. He could do.
And a little hand on your chest.
It is crazy with Ederson though. Like, we think of City and we think about like just like the quick interchanging possession and different things like that. But the guy's like, hey, we can do that, but I'm also just gonna go over the top and you're gonna deal with it because I'm gonna get an assist.
Yeah, he's got a few.
He has a few of them and it's insane. Like, and a lot of it is helped by the fact that you have, Aguero, who is you have these guys who are fast, and then Aguero can just read a play before it's gonna happen, like nobody at that position, but. Yeah, he's helped change that team. They're gonna be he's still.
How old is he? He's young, right?
He's young.
He's our age.
Yeah, as I said, I think he's.
Said at our age, nobody else's age.
Yeah, he's a 93.
93.
Yeah,
26, 27.
Yeah, he's a young guy. Like that guy's gonna be a top.
10 years
player.
left, innit?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
10 years. Yeah.
That's terrifying to think about. And Allison's not old, but I think he's.
Yeah, you're 31, isn't he?
He's like.
Is he that
I think
old?
so.
I think he's like 29 or 30, but either way, he's got a couple.
Remember the video going about when Alisson before he signed?
Yeah.
How brilliant is that?
I don't think it's him though.
I don't think it's him.
No.
It's been debunked.
No,
Class,
I think anybody that's not on this list
What a life.
that we think should be.
Anybody not on the
Honourable
list?
mentions.
Any honorable mentions?
He
that-
and or Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Ramsdale.
Ramsdale was on
Both.
two lists. So before you guys got me your list, he was on nobody's list. I'll just tell you that.
I was going to put Heaton
was on my
because
list, I think.
every time against Man United, he's unbelievable.
Honestly, the guy that I wanted to put on there just for how he's performed against United is Tim Krul, because it's the only goalkeeper that terrifies me.
I had him on my list.
There's a lot of people that people had at 10. The only person that was only on one list.
Matt Ryan, by the way, Brighton's keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Matt. You had Matt Ryan.
I had Matt Ryan.
But, didn't you?
You're
were you
probably
saying
the
that
only one
I'm
with
the only
Kepa.
You're the only one with Kepa, but the only person.
But
Well, I
your
guess yeah.
argument, like you made it. Your argument kind of
Fueled our fire.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not a great argument. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I even said my argument. Everything was a gamble. 100%. I think it's a gamble.
Argument that we don't
Gotcha.
understand.
No. I'm not trying to like convince anyone else, but I'm saying like, given what I said, he belongs on my list somewhere. 11th.
The only guy I think that had someone that was only on one list in their top 5 was Chan, of course, with Foster, which is a good goalkeeper, but like
Foster was good.
he had him at 5, and that's wild.
Oh wow.
Foster.
Yeah.
I think the only one for me that would have got in the top 10, two maybe is Ramsdale and Heaton.
I had the other goalkeeper I had, and I think you look at his stats, and I think he's underrated, is Guaita from Crystal Palace. He's done a very good job for them, and they've had more success. You don't think
Palace have been shite though.
For the players they've got.
but they also weren't
yeah,
they weren't as
performed.
they actually. I mean, in the beginning of the year, but if you look where they finished in the table, they actually didn't
They went on
perform.
a mentally long streak of losing games after the lockdown.
Really?
They
After-
went on like such a long streak of just loss after loss after
Yeah,
loss after loss.
they ended up.
Merchant going Greer every day.
Benteke had like that 2.5 year streak where he didn't score at home.
Then he scored against Chelsea.
Yeah, scored against Chelsea.
There was some fact I seen. I can't remember word for word, but it was something about Alisson, and the only game he lost at Anfield was for Roma.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Like
Like
3 years ago.
Yeah, it was
it's
some
mental.
crazy stats.
Ridiculous. Yeah, there's
And
some wild
before they
stats.
got, was Watford beat them at home, or who beat them at home? Someone beat them at
Yeah,
all.
Wa-
It was Atletico, wasn't it?
Atletico beat them first.
Atletico.
And then Watford beat them.
And then Watford beat them. I was so happy about that. So just to say the list again, number 1, Ederson. Like we said, fairly interchangeable here, but Alisson number 2, Henderson, Schmeichel, David De Gea, Pope, Lloris, Rui Patricio, Leno, and Dubravka just made the list at number
What's a
10.
clean sheet top 10? Do you have someone pull a clean sheet top 10?
Ederson was number 1. I do believe Pope was second, along with Alisson. And then third was, I think Henderson might have been. No, actually Henderson was below. And De Gea, I think, ended up.
Edison, Nick Pope was second.
Yep.
Alisson third.
Yeah. Pay attention a little
Good
bit.
homework.
Dean Henderson was fourth.
Yeah, Dean Henderson was 4th. So
What are you thinking?
it's pretty close. I think our list is pretty close. I think Schmeichel's not as high on that list, but for the most part, it goes right around what we have. I think a few of those guys had more clean sheets. That might have been a little lower. I think Dubravka actually did have a couple more than where he's at, but
I can't believe the Bradford's getting an old pig for
Don't give us a Dubravka song.
Just a better
Don't
goalkeeper.
sing a wee Dubravka song.
I think that's gonna do it for today. It's a good top 10, and then next up we got right backs. I have a feeling that we're gonna argue over a few things on that one. So this has been Tactical Foul, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
stuff, fellas.